If you're losing Sunset Canyon even when you outpower the enemy, it's not your commanders, it's the setup. And today, we're not here to say this is the meta, we're here to build it together. This video isn't about one perfect answer, it's about starting the conversation, sharing ideas, and figuring out what actually wins Sunset Canyon, especially when it comes to siege and winning on time. So let's break down how this setup works, why it survives longer than people expect, and then I want to hear what you're running in Canyon. So let's talk about the dynamics of ranged in Sunset Canyon, because this is where a lot of people get baited into bad setups. In Canyon, ranged must bring two things, AoE damage and sustain. If your ranged march doesn't have both, it usually just folds before the timer matters, and it's probably not worth running. The only real exception I've found is Gaja paired with Babur. That combo survives long enough and pressures enough targets to actually matter. For a one-march setup, the safest and most consistent option is Gaja with Gonzalo. If you're running two marches, my go-to is Margaret with Gonzalo plus Gaja with Babur. That gives you AoE coverage, pressure, and just enough sustain to play the time game. Now, I want to throw out a theory here. This isn't me declaring a finished meta. It's something I've been testing, and it's been working really well for me. I'm only covering 1- and 2-march setups in this video. Once you go beyond that with Siege and Canyon, you're usually just playing for basic rewards, not pushing rating. So let's break down why this works, and then I want to hear what you guys are testing too. If your first march dies early in Sunset Canyon, the rest of your setup doesn't matter. This one doesn't. Our first march is Gaja primary with Gonzalo secondary. You can run this the other way around, but for Canyon specifically, I prefer Gaja in the lead. The reason is simple. Longer sustain. Running Gaja primary lets you take full advantage of the defense talent tree, which is huge in a time-based mode like Sunset Canyon. This march has everything Canyon wants: tanky stats, big heals, and massive damage output. It doesn't need to delete marches, it just needs to stay alive and keep applying pressure. Now, positioning is critical here. You never want this march exposed. Place your towers behind a true tank march and lock them into a corner. This lets them free fire, spread damage, and stay protected while the front line absorbs pressure. If you position this correctly, this march survives longer than most players expect, and that's how you start winning on time. If your second march collapses the moment it gets focused, this pairing fixes that. The next march is Afonso primary with Steven secondary, and this one is all about surviving the moment you finally get hit. I run Afonso in the lead so I can use the support talent tree. That's huge here. It gives you extra sustain when the march gets focused and directly boosts Steven's healing value. This pairing brings exactly what Canyon demands: sustain, consistent healing, and more damage than people expect. It doesn't spike early, but once it starts taking pressure, it just refuses to fall over, and that's what wins time-based fights. So here's the idea behind these setups. Canyon isn't about deleting marches, it's about outlasting them. Both of these pairings are built around the same principle: AoE pressure, sustain, and smart positioning. If your march can't do damage and stay alive, it's just feeding rating to someone else. This isn't me saying this is the only way to play Canyon. This is me starting the conversation. If you're testing different siege or ranged setups, drop them in the comments. Let's figure out what actually works and build the Canyon meta together. If this helped you win on time, hit like. If you want more siege tech and Canyon guides, subscribe. Pleb out.
Go on, give that like a little love. Nice. Now tap subscribe, and we're locked in. Perfect. Stay sharp, fam.
Gumbo in the pot, thick steam in the air. Season it heavy, got the spices to scare. My siege drops fire, watch the towers crumble. Archers take flight, but they fumble in the jungle. Blades clash loud, infantry in the grind. Cavalry charge, but they're further behind. It's the flavor of war, every bite is a lesson. Pew Tang Clan's the ultimate weapon. Pew Tang Clan ain't nothing to mess with.